Ohio Governor and former Republican presidential candidate John Kasich met with President Trump Friday at the White House to discuss a range of issues, including health care costs, drug addiction, and human trafficking. Afterwards, Governor Kasich spoke briefly to reporters outside the White House.
So thanks for being here. We had a long meeting with the president in the Oval Office. I'd say for about, 30 minutes of it. It was the two of us. And I would tell you, the president was very responsive to my concerns about the Affordable Care Act, Medicaid expansion. He said he was very intrigued with the idea, and I'm going to have a meeting tomorrow at his direction to Secretary Price. So we'll have a meeting tomorrow to talk about the details of the things that my team has been working on. Don't know where that will all go, but I will tell you that the president was, he listened very carefully to what I had to say about it and had a very positive response, and he was very open to it and asked a number of questions, and then he was able to call a couple other people in. We talked about the whole range of issues, including the high cost of pharmaceuticals contained in the Medicaid plan. Which is very interesting. I made my suggestions about what we should do in regard to those rising costs. I told the president that having been at the Munich Security Conference, that is really very important for the administration to speak with one voice. He listened and acknowledged it. I think was somewhat taken aback that even though he had the vice president and the general over there, that sometimes people want to hear from him, and he listened to that. I also talked a little bit about the issue of the problem of the digital changes in our economy and how it can leave people behind who, frankly, don't have the skills to take the next set of jobs. I think that will be for a discussion a little later on. But all in all, the chief of staff came in, Jared came in, Gary Cohn was in during the meetings, and I'm very optimistic about that the president heard, my concerns about the Affordable Care Act and what we do to change it. And, the result is tomorrow I'll be meeting with Priebus and Secretary Price with my team and sort of lay out the way in which we think we can reform it, save money, and make sure that people aren't left behind.
Governor, could you elaborate on just that?
Well, look, I've been arguing all along in op-ed piece, everything else, that we should take Medicaid expansion from 138 down to 100, move people between 138 and 100 over on the exchange, stabilize that marketplace, provide some flexibility in the area of that health package, that the federal government ought to get its nose out of the insurance business where they've created disruptions, and we need to deal with the problem of the pharmaceutical industry and their high costs. So I kind of covered everything like 2 or 3 times because different people kept coming in the room, and it was, and I at one point made it clear that I have been a guy, I said, and look, I don't care what the Republicans do on this. If they do something that I think is wrong, I'm going to speak out. And, in a larger group with the president there, I said, look, all my career, when I agree with Republicans, I agree with them. When I don't, I speak out. And they said they noticed that, and nothing's going to change. And I'm glad that I came. The president was very generous with his time, and he listened a great deal to my concerns. We also talked about the problem of drug abuse. We talked about the problem of human trafficking. We covered a whole series of things in there, and we just moved forward.
Governor, you and the president have not always had the best relationship. Did your past criticism come up at all? Was there any attempt?
No. It was just a chuckle when I said, look, pardon?
Any attempt to bury the hatchet?
Well, you know what, this is the strangest thing. Since I was a young congressman, I voted against Ronald Reagan's troops in Lebanon. I killed the B-2 bomber with Republican president. I proposed my own budget against President Bush's budget. These things are not personal. They're things that I've always done in my career. I had a mother that taught me to stand on my own 2 feet and sometimes to speak out. But I've never meant any of the times to be personal in my criticisms or concerns.
president in this meeting?
Well, it was never really anything that came up. And when I made the comment that, look, throughout my career, when I agree with something, I speak out, and when I don't, you know, I can criticize if I'm not being self-righteous. And one of the voices in the room said, yeah, we noticed that. But that was it. We all kind of laughed. I mean,
has your opinion of the president changed at all? You didn't seem particularly impressed with him as an individual during the election campaign.
Look, the man is the president of the United States. It's sort of like being on an airplane. You want to root for the pilot if you're on the airplane with the pilot. I mean, you don't want the pilot to screw up. And so I don't, look, I've been around too long, and I feel so strongly about my faith to be, not that I succeed in it all the time, but to be personal. I mean, I can have my opinions, but now it's time to be constructive. And sometimes being constructive is to not be positive, you know, to make your point. And I'm very glad that I've been able to make my point on this whole business of Obamacare and Affordable Care Act. And I'm going to continue to make it. If it upsets Republicans in the Congress, I mean, that's life.
Governor,
So,
do you think the president has a successful start to his time in office?
I don't, look, I mean, I also told him that I remember back when I first became governor, there were some things that I was doing to the point where my wife said to me, you're the father of Ohio, act like it. It takes time for people to get stabilized. And we all want to wish this president the best. But that doesn't mean that when I wish him the best, there might be things that I see that I don't agree with, and I'm going to say that. I mean, I'm not trying to pull him down or anybody else down. Look, I'm not red or blue. I'm red, white, and blue. I want to put America first, not, you know, my party, some arcane ideology. I mean, if I can help my country, I'm going to do what I can. And that comes in various ways and packages.
What's your reaction to the details of the House replacement plan? Can you share that, the $2,000 tax credit to buy free?
I just told him it was not inadequate.
So you disagree with all those details?
Completely. Isn't that clear?
Nothing about it that you agree with?
Nothing about it. That's enough for me to say that that's, to me, it's not acceptable. And look, I don't know what they can jam through, you know. I don't know what I can jam through, but the fact of the matter is that I don't agree with that, and I've been clear about it, and I'll continue to be. Thank you all very much.
The administration's not speaking with the same voice.
Folks, we need everybody to follow behind the cameras, please. Thank you.
Yes.